I love books. I started reading books like I don't know 10 years ago and I'm still reading books. Um today we're going to be ranking my top 10 favorite authors because if you think about it, authors don't get nearly as much recognition as they probably should because they're the people that write the books. And since I'm going to be ranking the authors, I get to talk about all the books that they're done, resulting in me talking about a huge amount of books. Welcome everybody to Max Reviews, and today we're doing top 10 favorite authors. This one took a lot of effort to try to figure out because I've been reading so many different authors, and we are going to be doing some comics in here that are going to be counting. We have some very interesting different directions to go here with different books, different genres, different sort of kinds of books. So this is going to be a really fun list, but I love books. I I like good books. I read a lot of books, but I love good books. Before we get started, we're gonna have some honorable mentions here because there is a ton of authors here that I do enjoy, but didn't exactly make the list. And for honorable mentions here, I just want to say the Vader comics, which I read a lot of Star Wars comics, and I really enjoy them. The Vader comics are some of the best, along with the Doctor Afra, I don't know how to say it, comics, which they did introduce Black Chrysanthemum into the actual live-action Star Wars. So it'd be cool if we got a Doctor Afra. I don't know how to say her name. Sorry, it's been a while, but the Vader comics are absolutely epic and look amazing. The Dr. Alpha comics are good enough. More honorable mentions here. Jeffrey Brown, he did the Jedi Academy books, which I just really enjoyed. I read a lot of Star Wars sort of books, and the Jedi Academies were the right amount of funny and just cute while also being emotional at their core. I read them when I was like 5 years ago, but they still hold up now. I really enjoy them. And he also did these other sort of Vader and Son books that I thought were pretty cute. Mac Barnett used to be my favorite author of all time. He wrote these books called The Brixton Brothers, which were some really good mystery books that I really enjoyed. But they came out like 10 years ago, and he hasn't made a sequel to them, to the fourth one. He was supposed to do another, left it at a cliffhanger, and he never made another one. But the series that he has been working on, The Terrible Two, I absolutely enjoyed that. It was one of my favorite series. But then it sort of got pushed back a bit more. David Solomon's, sorry, getting his name mixed up. He's done My Brother's a Superhero and my gym teacher's an alien overlord, which I just find really funny because you have this comic book obsessed boy and his brother gets the superpowers, so he's trying to teach his brother to do the superpowers, and it's just such a fun books. It's a book series, but I haven't read all of them because my library doesn't hold all of them. They've only got the first two, so I can't really have them in the top 10. And then our final one year that doesn't make it, it's going to be this Darth Mull graphic novel, which is my favorite graphic novel of all time. It just looks amazing. So slick, so dark. The story is amazing. I absolutely just love it. And it just gives you these darker moments that you want. You get Cad Bane, Arang Singh, Darth Maul, just a giant team-up movie that is my favorite comic of all time. Even though it's just Star Wars, it's not like a big Spider-Man thing for comics. It's just a Darth Maul comic that I absolutely love. So another reason I just wanted to say that I'm actually doing this, one of my favorite authors just came out with a new book, and I finished reading it, Dragon Watch, Return of the Dragon Slayers. I just finished reading that, so that's why we're going to be doing this. So, let's get started. Coming in 10th place here for my top 10 favorite authors of all time is going to be Charles Schultz, who did the Peanuts comics, and I did say I'm going to be doing some comics in here. We got a couple. I absolutely love the Peanuts. I've read every single comic strip from them. They're so funny and also being cute. They mean so much to me because I read them as a kid, and I could still read them, and they're still funny. My dad read them as a kid. They've been around for about 70 years now, and they're just so memorable, so classic, so amazing. I absolutely love them. A lot of people, this is like their favorite of all time. For me, it isn't because, I wasn't really around when this was in its prime, and they've just been doing a bunch of reruns, so I still enjoy these. I know all the characters. Charlie Brown is so great. It's funny, and some people might not do comic books and stuff and funnies and stuff for their stuff. I'm just gonna add these two people that did comic books because just they're not comic books, they're funny, sorry. But comic strips, but it's just Peanuts is just so classy and it means just so much to me that I can't ignore it. It's got to be on this list. Charles Schultz, just great guy. Wish I could have been in a time where he was actually alive, but unfortunately I can't. But Peanuts just means so much to me. I absolutely love it. So it's really funny. So it comes in 10th place. 9th place here, we have a new author that I just discovered, Ernest Cline, who did Ready Player One and Ready Player Two. I absolutely love these books, and I feel horrible that the movie just butchered them. Well, butchered the first one. The first one, after consideration, is a lot better than the second one. The second one, rethinking it, it does drag quite a bit in the middle. But these are a lot more mature than other stuff that I read. It's about an 18-year-old that seriously has given up on the world almost and wants to rely on this other world. And it's a very interesting world, great characters. I absolutely love it. It's got some very interesting ideas within it, and the second one, I think it did just drag it out a bit too much, and it was really hard to get through in the middle. But that first book was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved it. Second book had beginning and end where I really enjoyed them, but the middle section really dragged it. And that's why he doesn't really make it a bit higher. If he had done a few more books, maybe, but for right now, he doesn't exactly make it that high. 8th place here, we have Gordon Corman, who he's just a very interesting author because his books come up with very interesting concepts. Take, for an example, this book that he did, Restart. It's about this jerk bully kid, generic. But what happens is he falls off of a roof and he loses his memories. And so he goes to school. People are sort of give him the angry eye, like, what's going on? They hate him. And he doesn't know. He's restarted. He is a new person. He doesn't remember what he used to do. He knows that he probably didn't do too much. He probably didn't do anything super bad, but he doesn't really know what he did. And he's pretty sure that he bullied kids, and he wants to restart. And that's a very interesting concept. There's also this one where you have this kid who he accidentally destroys a school gym. It's called Ungifted, and he destroys the school gym by accidentally pushing over a statue for a prank, and then this giant ball rolls out of it and crushes the school gymnasium, the school gym, and then the principal is going to expel him and kick him out of school. Actually, no, just kicking him out of school, and so the principal accidentally puts this kid in the gifted program, and they lose all their records on him. They don't really know exactly who his name is or anything. They just accidentally put him in the gifted program. He gets it mixed up, and so they can't find him. He's in the gifted program for these geniuses, and he's just a regular guy. Instead of getting expelled, he gets sent to this awesome school. So very interesting concept right there. You also have The Unteachables, a book about this teacher. It's his last year that he's going to be teaching school, and he has these kids called the Unteachables, which everybody thinks you can't teach them. They're horrible. They're like the ones that will not be taught, don't really listen to anybody, just do their own thing. And you have this girl who's just a regular person that accidentally gets put into that class, and you have this great bond between all these characters. So Gordon Corman, he still does stuff, which is a plus because some of these authors above him they don't put out books anymore. They stopped writing, and so it's nice that he's still writing stuff, and just very interesting concepts from that. 7th place here, we have Timothy Zahn. Zahn? I don't know how to say his name, but Timothy Zahn, we'll say. And he did the Heir to the Empire books. He did Star Wars stuff, and right after Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Episode 6, a bunch of books came out theorizing, like, what happens after that, and they were just really fun to try to check out and see what people thought would happen after Return of the Jedi. That's where Mara Jade was made up, and a bunch of other really cool concepts. And in this book, you have this evil Sith guy from this monastery that is found by Admiral Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, and they're going to team up to try to take down the New Republic with Luke and everybody, and Han and Leia have kids, and the kids are going to be, the Sith guy wants to take them to use them for his force power, for his apprentices. Very interesting, a bunch of really cool concepts here with different animals which can block force users, and a lot darker than you would usually expect. There's Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is a big standout in these 3 books here. So much so that he got his own book series, his own trilogy of books that I just really good. Grand Admiral Thrawn is just such an interesting character that they've done some comics on him, but I don't think it's nearly as good as in these books. He's menacing. He's a genius. He's also got this sort of sense to him that he wants to take over, but also he's smart about it. He's very, very interesting character. And I can't wait to see him in Ahsoka, but also not exactly can't wait because I'm a bit concerned right now after Book of Boba Fett. Like, I haven't seen him in Rebels yet. I'm watching through that, and I heard he's not too good in Rebels. Just hope that he gets an accurate representation of this amazing character. Thrawn books are basically what pushes Timothy Zahn into this top 10. And with that said, 6th place here is going to be Wendy Mass, who probably one of the first authors that I read on this list. Some of their books. Her first book was called Candy Makers, and it's about these 4 kids who they're in a candy competition, and they're working at this candy factory. And first you have this kid who he's got scars on him because he fell into a hot vat of chocolate as a kid, and so he's got scars all over his face and everything. So he doesn't really get out much. He lives at the candy factory with his parents and with the workers there. He hasn't gone out of there for years. And he's just trying to do this candy competition. He's basically a genius at candy. And then you also have Miles, this super smart kid that also doesn't get out because he just is making his own languages and his own maps and worlds and just that sort of thing, like the nerdy kid. But also, he's good at making candy, so he decided to come into this competition too. You have Daisy, who is just, she's actually a spy that's working for this society for girl spy people, and that sounds cheesy, but it actually works. And you have her trying to figure out if somebody what's going on with the candy industry, if something's wrong, if there's any cheating going on, like anything. There seems to be some illegal stuff going on, so that's just interesting right there. And then you also have this kid who is the stuck-up kid who's rich, and he's just in it to win it. And they all sort of combine together and become friends. And it's just a very long, like 500 to 600 page book, but it's really good. It was I've read it like 5 times. It's one of the first books on this list that I've actually read, that I read like 5 years ago. And just great book. She also did Finally, which is about this girl who turns 12, and she has this giant list of stuff that she wants to do when she turns 12. She wants to get her ears pierced, get a bunny, stay out late, have a longer bedtime, all this other stuff. And when she tries to have it happen, it's like the worst thing happens. So she gets a cell phone, but the cell phone is this extremely cheap version that everybody, and she has the same phone number as a pizza place. So everybody's calling her from a pizza place. It's just insanely hilarious how it happens with that. One of the best girly books that I like. Jeremy Fink in The Meaning of Life. This is just about this kid who's turning 13, and his dad has sent him this thing. His dad's been dead, and he gives him this box, has the meaning of life in it for his 13th birthday. It's not as good as the other ones, but it's still good. They made a movie out of it, and I thought the movie was fine, so that's good. There's a mango-shaped space, which is about this cat and this girl, and very interesting because she could see things. She could see colors. For every letter has a color. Every sound has a color, and it's very interesting. And that is just, it's an actual, I don't want to say disease, but condition, that people have, and that's just a very interesting thing. I didn't even know anything about it, and now after it's just very emotional too. And then there's Every Soul a Star, which is about this girl who lives at this astronomy site. It's sort of like camp, but you look at stars, and that's a big thing, and there's eclipse happening, and she meets friends, and it's fun, sort of summer story. And then you have the best book from her, from Wendy Mass, Candy Makers and the Great Chocolate Chase. Her last movie that came out, her last book that came out like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years ago, and it has the Candy Makers all together on this road trip, trying to find these special beans that are gonna help their one person that works there that was in the first book. And on this journey, they meet all the characters from A Mango-Shaped Space, Jeremy Fink and the Meaning of Life, from Every Soul Star, and it's just so emotional to just see these characters and where they're at and what's happening with them. It's just so good. Best book from Wendy Mass, so I really love it. Great ending to her little world that she made. 5th place here, we have James Riley, who has done 3 very distinct, different sort of book series. He has his own sort of flair to it. So first you have the Once Upon a Time series, which it's like fairy tales, but it's just fairy tales. This giant world of fairy tales, and you have this girl who's the daughter of the evil witch from Snow White, and you have these 2 guys that are with her, and they're trying to take down the evil witch, and it's pretty generic sort of in that way, but also as you have a bunch of cameos from people from like Peter Pan, Snow White, you have people from Humpty Dumpty, all these fairy tales, Cinderella, all that stuff. Very cool. I don't like it as much as my sisters. They actually really like it. I think it's just fine. Next, you have the one that I really enjoy, Story Thieves. Now, Story Thieves is about this girl who she can jump into books, in and out of books. And when she goes into books, let's say she goes into The Wizard of Oz. Wait, that's not a book. She goes into Lord of the Rings. Then she'll be there in wherever place they're at, Morag, Smog, with Gollum. She could actually see the characters and stuff. She could interact with them in the book, which is very interesting. And then there's this boy that's actually from a book. He's basically Harry Potter, but a bit more confident and a bit more like dashing, sort of like a prince version of Harry Potter. And then there's this boy who he's just the librarian's son, so he has a like encyclopedic knowledge of books. And that's so awesome. And there's 5 very distinct books. First one, you have like this fantasy Lord of the Rings Harry Potter version where you have her going into books. You also have her going into different books each time. But this is sort of like the Harry Potter version with wizards and magic and towers and that sort of stuff. The second book is a mystery. And you have the first 7 chapters, which are just basically a bunch of it is just written out so that you can't see what happened, and through the book you get those chapters and figure out what's happening and who's actually behind all this. It's a big mystery. Absolutely love it. There's suspense. Amazing. Third book is about superheroes. I don't think it's as good as the second book, but it's still very good, where you have this dark person and you don't know who it is, and superheroes going into comic books, which is great. And then you also have the 4th book, which is very different from the other books. It's about just one boy, the librarian's son, and he gets out he's trapped in a book by the villain, and it's a choose-your-own-adventure book. So every single day, he's in a prison, and it resets, because that's how the prison works. It's a time prison that's like, it has no meaning in time. It's not at the beginning or the end of time. It's just there, and it's where all these villain people go that they send. And each day, the time resets, and you're reliving the same day. So it's a choose-your-own-adventure. You figure out how he gets out and learn the clues so that he can get out there. And it's such an interesting concept for this good of a book. 5th book just takes everything together, combines it, and it's insane, crazy. It like destroys the world, recombines the world. I absolutely love this book. And then you have his new series, The Revenge of Magic, which is about this magic school and different ways of magic, and you have like your headstrong fighters, and then you have like your healers, but the healers actually have insane powers. So very cool. I've only read 1 book because my library doesn't have more than 1 of that book, so they just have the first one. There's a few others that I've only read the first, and I really love it. So 4th place here, we have Lincoln Pierce, the guy that did the Big Nate books, and I just love Big Nate. Favorite comic book, funny strip, whatever you want to call it, that Big Nate is just such a horrible character. He's a big jerk, but you absolutely love him. He's so funny, all these comic strips. He's been doing it for 10 to 20 years. I don't know. He's been doing it for a very long time, Lincoln Pierce, and still doing it, still doing quality content with the little comic strips. Not really changing a whole bunch. I just love it. really fun. He's also done this book series called Max and the Midnights, which I think is fine. And then it got made into this horrible show. At least it got some recognition, but not a whole bunch. I feel bad that the show was as bad as it was, but well, just really fun comic strips with characters that I remember, little quirks that you remember. Just really enjoy it. Before we get into the top 3, little honorable mention here that I sort of forgot about before. I'm just going to say C.S. Lewis for doing the Narnia books. I really enjoy the Narnia books, but they just didn't make it on here. And with that said, third place here, we have Brandon Mull, the guy that wrote the book Dragon Watch, Return of the Dragon Slayers, that inspired me to create this list. And starting off, he had Fablehaven, which is about Seth and Kendra, these two brother and sister, who go to their grandparents' house, and their grandparents actually have a magical preserve where you have all these creatures, satyrs, demons, witches, all these magical creatures, fairies, all on this preserve for the animals. Sort of like, yeah, preserve. It's a preserve. And they're all in the woods, and it's really cool. Fablehaven is just about the demons rising up and trying to get out of their demon prison, and all these different and creatures. Very, very interesting. Not excellent, but it's very good. And then you have Dragon Watch, which is continuation of Fablehaven. It's like right after it, but it's with dragons instead, and Kendra and Seth have their own preserve that they take care of. There's like 7 preserves, and the dragons are getting out, and I just finished reading the 5th book, and it's insane. My favorite would have to be the 3rd one, because it switches everything up, but the Dragon Watches are probably my favorite series from Brandon Mull. They're insane. I absolutely love them. And they have, you're in Fablehaven, you were mostly staying on Fablehaven, just the preserved Fablehaven, and exploring that. But now you're going throughout the entire world, just hopping from different place to different place, and different realms, and it's very good. He also had 5 Beyonders, which is basically Lord of the Rings. I would say my Lord of the Rings. I'm not a huge fan of Lord of the Rings books, but this is my Lord of the Rings because you have all these creatures. This is epic. It's a very epic story. You have these wizards. You have this magic. You also have sword fights, different worlds, creatures that you've never seen before. I absolutely love it. And then he also has done 5 Kingdoms, which I don't like as much because it's about this one kid who goes to this world where you have to... There's 5 kingdoms, and each kingdom has a different form of magic, and there's a princess that you have to save in each kingdom. So 5 kingdoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 princesses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he has 5 books. He just saves a princess in a different kingdom, but he does it with different magic. So save a princess, save a princess, save a princess, save a princess, save a princess. That's what he does. 5 books, just save princess. And so I don't like it. It's probably easily my least favorite thing that Brandon Mull's done. But I think it's, I don't not hate it. I just think it's fine. And then he did Candy Shop War, which is about these kids that if you get the candy, then you get a superpower. Like you could fly if you have this fly candy. It's fine. Not super special. I think it's fine. Second place here, we have J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter books. I think this is the #1 book series of all time. I just read it last year and blown away by how good it actually is. Everybody says it's like the best book series of all time. I don't think it's the best, but second best. Originally, after I first read it, I'm like, oh, this is the best, and then I sort of changed my mind. But the characters, the world, the wizarding world, the school, the characters' background, the length of the books, I just enjoy it all. Harry Potter is a great protagonist. Voldemort is a great antagonist. All these characters around you, Dumbledore, Ron, Hermione, just great world here with the magic Harry Potter that has been beloved for 20 years now with the movies and even longer with the books. So good. Everybody absolutely loves it. So it's amazing. I gotta agree with everybody. It's amazing. I absolutely loved it. Love it still, and just so good. First place here is going to be Rick Riordan, the author of Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus, Crane Chronicles, Trials of Apollo, Magnus Chase, and another book that he's been working on. But this guy has been my favorite author for some time, Rick Riordan. I was thinking he got beat by J.K. Rowling, but after rethinking it, I don't think so. So starting off right away, Percy Jackson was my Harry Potter. It was just so good, and I absolutely just was drawn in by it. I saw the movies first, and then I read the books. So yeah, you can hate me on that, but still, just the books are amazing. My favorite book series of all time, Percy Jackson. The Percy Jackson is my favorite book character of all time. I'm gonna have to go with rather than Harry Potter. They are extremely similar, but I gotta go with Percy Jackson. The world of Greek mythology, I have always been fascinated by. Even, I want to say, even when I was like 4 years old, we had this Greek mythology book, and I just loved it. I love Greek mythology. And when you have these book series, this world that Rick Riordan has created, that's all about Greek mythology, it's just so good. And I absolutely love it. Percy Jackson, just amazing. Favorite book series of all time. Then he did Heroes of Olympus, which longer, epicer, tries to be. I think it's really good. Absolute 10 out of 10. Not as good as Percy Jackson, though. With new characters, you have Romans and Greeks with different, like you have Venus for a god, and then you also have Hades. You have these different versions of the gods, and then you have the Kane Chronicles, which is Egyptian mythology, which gives me a little bit of upper hand on Moon Knight, which is coming out today actually when I'm recording this, and I know a little bit more about Egyptian mythology, and just the Kane Chronicles I think are good. I'd call them great. Some people don't like them that much, but I really enjoy them. And then you have Trials of Apollo, which is about the god Apollo coming down to Earth and fighting Nero, who is still alive somehow. And then just such a great character arc for Apollo, who's always been this stuck-up guy, and then he just turns into this character that you absolutely love. And then there's Magnus Chase, which is it's Viking mythology, Thor, Odin, Loki, and so very different versions than the Thor and Avengers movies, but just really great. Love Rick Riordan and everything that he's doing. Can't wait for the Percy Jackson show on Disney Plus. And then he's also writing this book called Daughter of the Deep that he came out with, but I haven't seen it yet. Read it. Yeah, I'm gonna be reading it as soon as I can. So absolutely love Rick Riordan. My favorite author of all time. Can't wait for the new Percy Jackson series. So leave your comments down below, your favorite author or authors, or top 20 authors, or top 10, or whatever you want to do. Leave it down below, or just what you think of these book series. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe to Max Reviews. Thank you, everybody, so much. And Braden out.